Okay, hello people of YouTube land and members of the Cringe Crew gaming community Discord and those that follow Ted I and our guest today, Mike Riot, on Twitch. I am Traductus.
I'm Ted.
I'm Mike. I'm a douchebag. Yeah, see, he wasn't even gonna leave me room to introduce myself.
And this is the Cringe Crew Gaming James Bond podcast, where me, a James Bond fan, shows Ted a filthy casual, the James Bond series, and we get opinions of both sides. And we also, this time, we have a guest who is a viewer of the podcast, Mike Riot, who is a streamer just like we are, and we are today reviewing his favorite Bond film, Moonraker. If you could hear the sarcasm with that. Anyway, Moonraker, made in 1979 and with a budget of $34 million and grossing in worldwide $210,300,000 in 1979's money, making it United Artists' highest grossing film of the series until 1995's GoldenEye. And this movie is also an Academy Award nominated film. This will be the last time the Bond series gets nominated for Academy Award film.
I wonder why.
Because
pretty damning, isn't it?
yeah, it was awarded for best visual effects, which in 1979 standards, maybe if it was set design, I'd be like, yeah, but it's visual. We'll get into it. But anyway, the Bond series doesn't get nominated for Academy Award again until Skyfall, oddly enough. So my guess is this really must have left that bad of a taste into the academies.
I don't see it. Anybody could have not absolutely loved it.
Man, the Academy nominating this one and then shunning everyone else for it is really, really damning.
Alright. And alright, we'll go into production. First, the end credits of the last film, The Spy Who Loved Me, said James Bond will return for your eyes only. However, due to a certain film made by George Lucas called Star Wars, they decided to jump on the bandwagon and make Moonraker. And while doing this, they also threw out the plot of the book to send Bond into space. That being said, to go from like the back to where Moonraker's history of becoming a movie, oddly enough, goes back to 1955. Ian Fleming, the author of the Bond novels, actually, while writing Moonraker, intended it to be a movie script and pitched it to like a bunch of people, and essentially he demanded too much money for like the film rights for the script, and people just kept saying like nah. So he decided to write it into a book, and the book's plot is the villain's the same. And it's not like Spy Who Loved Me, where they intended the villain to be Ernst Stavro Blofeld. It was always going to be Hugo Drax from like the book. But the book's plot, Hugo Drax is a kind of like the head of like a company like Lockheed Martin that's making weapons for the United Kingdom. And he is making the United Kingdom's first nuclear bomb. Obviously, the British government is a little suspicious, especially since he has a mysterious background. For what they know, is that he was a soldier in the British War, but then got amnesia from like a bomb. explosion. So, it turns out that when Bond actually finally like infiltrates the company, it turns out that Hugo Drax is actually a former Nazi who's bent on revenge against Britain, and the Moonraker missile is to be launched at London, and Bond has
Spoiler
to
alert.
stop that. And that is not in this movie. although
Movie plot's
Drax
a little bit different.
although Drax
Just a tad.
still might as well be a Nazi,
Yeah.
because he is a genocidal maniac trying to create a master race. That being said, back as I said before, is Lewis Gilbert with his last film of the Bond series. So he made 3. So later on, we're going to talk about Lewis Gilbert and compare him to other directors that have have directed James Bond movies. Probably most likely Guy Hamilton, because personally, I think there's a lot of similarities between him and Guy Hamilton. That being said, during there was another person that could have directed this movie. Steven Spielberg actually offered to direct the film since he just got done releasing Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but Cubby Broccoli turned him down. And due to the fact that Moonraker was also supposed to be like, be a Bond film back in like the 50s, that was Ian Fleming's plan. There were rumors that surfaced in 2004 that there was a 1956 version directed by Orson Welles and a James Bond website for April Fool's Day joke ran with it and actually said that there was 40 minutes of raw footage consisting of Dirk Bogarde as Bond, Orson Welles as Drax himself, and Peter Lorre as Drax's henchman. Which I have to say that actually sounds like it could work.
Man, I obviously I'm familiar enough with Orson Welles, not necessarily like his, catalog of works, but even that could have been better. Spielberg has done nothing but create hit after hit after hit, like all kinds of classics we still talk about how many decades afterwards, that like either one of those seems like better options if we're going to be completely honest.
Yeah, but no, we get like make the same movie 3 times, Lewis Gilbert. That being said, into casting, Hugo Drax was originally supposed to be played by British actor James Mason. However, due to the Anglo-French co-production due to a film treaty, they decided to cast French actor Michael Lonsdale, who is known for being Claude Lebel in the movie Day of the Jackal, and also the abbot in The Name of the Rose. Other people that were suggested for playing Drax was Stuart Granger and Louis Jourdan, who ends up playing a Bond villain in Octopussy and is known for being the villain in the Swamp Thing movies in the 80s.
Oh God, you just unlocked another horrible memory in my head. Thank you.
The person that plays Holly Goodhead, and no, her name's not that in the novel. She actually has a fucking normal name in the novel, Gayla Brand. But that wasn't good enough, so she is Holly Goodhead in the movie. That is played by Lois Childs, who is known for her role as Holly Harwood in the television series Dallas. And she's also known as a hit-and-run driver in the movie Creepshow 2.
Now that you mentioned Dallas, like I get it. I didn't see it beforehand, but that checks out now. I'm there.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was originally offered the role of Anya Amosova in the Spy Who Loved Me, so the Bond woman in that. She turned down the part when she decided to take temporary retirement, but she ended up being cast by chance because she was given a airplane seat next to director Lewis Gilbert. So by chance, she got picked up. Another actress that could have been Holly Goodhead was Jacqueline Smith, but she was still shooting Charlie's Angels, so therefore there was a scheduling conflict there. Back we have Richard Keel as Jaws, and originally he was supposed to be a bad guy throughout the entire thing, but Lewis Gilbert got a bunch of mails from children saying, "Why can't Jaws be a good guy?" And instead of being the rational person and going, he is a paid assassin that bites the throats out of people. What does that scream good guy? How does that scream good guy? No, he decided to go, all right, kids, I'll give you what you want. So they basically have him transition into being a good guy, spoiler alert, because he falls in love with a
Child.
Child.
lady.
Child.
Originally, Jaws' girlfriend was originally supposed to be portrayed as even more massive than him, but Keel insisted on a rewrite, wanting to basically,
Was a 16-year-old trying to look like she was 11. Yes, it was a child.
Diminutive French actress Blanche Ravaillac, who's known for doing a lot of French dubs. And she ends up playing Dolly, Jaws' girlfriend. And originally the producers were whether or not worried. What?
So that character had a name?
Yes.
You made me hint at it.
Now, originally the producers, according to Wikipedia, were dubious about whether the audience would accept the height difference between them, and only made their decision once they were informed that Richard Keel's real-life wife was the same height.
Great. I feel like that would make a difference when you could Google search things in the 2010s. I don't feel like that makes a difference in 1979. Nobody's gonna Google, like, what's his real wife's height? Huh? Is it real? No one gives a fuck.
So anyway, production began in 78. This is Ken Adams' last Bond production, so all set designs after this are not made by Ken Adam. Unfortunately, this would be his last film. Bernard Lee as M, this would also be his last film, and we'll get into his tenure as the role of M. And let's see here. And apparently executive producer Michael G. Wilson, who is Cubby Broccoli's stepson, and who ends up helping produce these movies after Broccoli's fallout with Harry Saltzman, also added to a casting with Toshiro Suga, who is not Toshiro Suga. Toshiro Suga.
Nailed it this
God.
time.
You got through it, buddy.
Who is an Aikido instructor. By chance meeting, Michael G. Wilson was like a student of his, was just like, hey, want to play a Bond henchman? He's like, sure. So he's in this movie. And this film was barely shot in London. This was basically, for the most part, shot in California, Rio de Janeiro, and oddly enough, Florida. And back with like the theme music, we have Shirley Bassey singing with her third and so far final Bond theme that she's singing on. She is still alive, so when the new Bond movie comes out eventually, she might be chosen to do that. Who knows, for a throwback. We'll see on that. Spoiler alert, I don't really like the Bond ballads, so I don't care for this one either. And it's a shame that this is her last one so far. And I guess we'll rip the Band-Aid off. So, or shall we say duct tape, or more accurately, the the Brazilian wax that is this film. So we're gonna go with likes.
Don't you fucking dare compare this film to a Brazilian wax.
Mike, why don't you take over? Start with likes.
The sets look great. The sets were fantastic. There's also a scene early on, when a couple of dogs get Drax sicks a couple of dogs on a woman who runs right by a golf cart. We'll just leave that completely out.
Sure.
And then the most beautifully like choreographed and filmed scene of her running away from these very friendly looking Dobermans through the woods. That's all I have.
All right.
The sets were good, and that scene was filmed really well. Miniature work towards the end of the film was pretty decent, but
agree to disagree.
for the time, I think it was pretty okay.
Yeah, I actually don't mind Derek Medding's miniature work for this movie. I actually think that they didn't age perfectly, but honestly, it's aged better than a lot of early CG. And I'd rather have outdated miniatures because at least they don't completely look like shit, unlike something that was like prime example, Lawnmower Man. With like the early 90s CG.
What are you talking about? Those are the most realistic looking CG I've ever seen in my life. has not aged a day.
Which, oddly enough, that movie has Pierce Brosnan, who ends up playing James Bond later. And I did not intend it for that. I was just thinking shitty CG, and I'm thinking Lawnmower Man. But shit that looks like, that could be in the television series Reboot. That type of like, I also really like the set design, and I don't know if it's because the set design is really good, or if I'm having nostalgia vibes from the James Bond video game GoldenEye.
Which because you referenced several times through this movie. Like, this was good because it was in GoldenEye.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's all I had to go with. I mean, it's like, at least the Moonraker laser, which I have a picture in the Cringe Crew community Discord. That thing is made with like a dryer vent and like
there's a shower head in there. There's a stick. There's some plastic wiring conduit.
Like, you looked at it, Ted, didn't you?
Yeah, and somehow it's still better than the trailer photo.
It's a little squirt gun.
And
for anybody that who hasn't seen the poster for this movie, you should just like take a second, go Google that, because it'll tell you everything you need to know about the movie.
100%.
That poster perfectly encapsulates this entire film.
I'm going to include that. Mark my words. I'm going to include that. It's on my list of notes. Oh.
I will say this. This is actually Ken Adams' probably best design work out of all the Bond films. Although I will say the Volcano Lair and You Only Live Twice is very, very close second. But I am really thought it was really cool that GoldenEye the video game with the Aztec level really like tried to portray the sets as accurately as possible in a video game. So I kind of had nostalgia vibes from that. But other than that, see, is there any more positives?
The fact that you're struggling to find them indicates not really.
Villain is better than Karl Stromberg. Hugo Drax is a lot more sinister. However,
he's sinister, all right.
It gets completely fucking ruined because I also watched watch because I watch it on YouTube, but I guess listen to a podcast called From Rewatch with Love. And the hosts there, while reviewing Moonraker, mentioned that Hugo Drax, the actor, Michael Lonsdale, looks like Droopy Dog. And then they said, like, so they can't watch the film without picturing all the lines of dialogue from Drax in Droopy Dog's voice.
All All right, so
Oh boy.
so Stahlman tried not to ruin the movie for us by like waiting until the last 10-15 minutes to bring it up to us when all of us fucking realized he was goddamn right. But I hate to call that a positive because like the movie genuinely would have been better if Droopy Dog was reading all the fucking lines. It was so bad. My list of positives is ridiculously fucking short. These guys both mentioned sets, and not only the sets themselves looking absolutely fantastic through almost all of the movie, but also they utilized the sets well. When they had big open sets, they used a lot of camera angles. They did a whole lot of really good like camera work around the positive sets. They did a really good job at making you feel like you were a part of the room, and rather than just watching two people in said room. Which I would argue is better than most of the other movies in this film.
That's typically what it is in this entire series.
Yeah, I've had comments before that sets have been good or that camera work has been good. This is probably the first one that I can tell you they're both good in combination. Like the way that they filmed around the room was really, really good. That ends my list of positives, but I have a lot of other like backhanded comments that are really going to turn into negatives, so I'm going to take this one over again. Stahlman prepped us for the past 2 weeks that Moonraker was going to be not the worst Bond film we've ever watched, the worst film we've ever watched. I will tell you that it's close. It's on a real short list of the worst things I've ever watched. However, the first scene with the parachutes, them jumping out of the plane, I had my fair share of complaints about that scene even while watching it, but I thought it was filmed in an okay way that genuinely gave me hope the movie was not going to be as bad as Stahlman had described. I thought it was him exaggerating based on the parachute scene alone. There were enough positives that I could take from that scene to go like, maybe this won't be that bad. It got so much worse! I'm so sorry I peaked my microphone. I'm sorry for everyone listening who just had to hear me goddamn shout. This movie got so bad. When we get to the good scenes, I commented on the mansion. When they pulled up in the helicopter to the mansion, that it was a beautiful fucking scenery. I thought it looked fake, but it looked really, really good. Like I knew at that moment in time they were going to put thought into how everything looked behind the actors on camera. And then, in the most beautiful room I've ever seen in my entire life, the sound echoed and you heard every actor 3 fucking times with every goddamn line. Whoever's holding the boom mic needs to be physically assaulted. Whoever allowed that to be in the movie needs to have even worse done to them. It was so bad. Through the whole movie, there were so many inconsistencies where they just took, like, they didn't care about what happened 15 seconds later in the same camera shot. They didn't care about anything in the future. They're like, well, we got it, so nothing matters. And the direction was so poor. There were so many places that they used like terrible fucking jump cuts and cut to places or cameras that shouldn't have been used.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Or cutting from one location to another with absolutely no warning.
Or scenes that just made no sense. I mean, Mike, you mentioned the scene running through the woods from the Dobermans, and you mentioned while we were watching that it looked like a scene from a different movie. Like, that scene was so beautifully shot.
It doesn't even look like it's shot, directed, or it doesn't even look like the same cinematographer was involved.
But
I really wonder.
But there were 4 things that led up to her running through the woods that already made that scene out of place for its own movie. She ran past the golf cart with keys in it. The Dobermans looked like puppies that were smaller than the short dude's fucking ankles, and they were worried about his height to begin with. Like, there were so many things about this movie that they just blatantly said, we don't give a shit. The worst part of the whole experience for me is that right at the very beginning, I don't remember who said it while we were watching, that they're like, you don't know the ending, right? Like, completely being a snide asshole about it, like, because you definitely knew the ending. It was like 5 minutes into the movie. But the whole thing about like the ending was scripted. You knew it. They had the worst build up to it, but even then, they put so many things in there that just goddamn didn't matter. Like they did so much to make this film so much extra. I called it out when they said that snide line that I was like, oh, so it's just going to be a cheaply produced movie with a whole lot of explosions at the end because they realized they had a whole budget to use. And it wasn't even that.
We were just like, oh no, it's worse.
It wasn't even that. There have been several movies in this series that I've gone like, okay, well, they had an $8 million budget. They spent $6.5 million on the explosions at the end to destroy the sets they created, and $1.5 million paying the actors so that nothing ever used a cost. This one, I was waiting to see like where the budget came from, and I never found it. Not once did I find anything worth a damn. The sound effects were bad. The
whole laser battle at the end.
Okay, yeah, you could say it's the laser battle, but they didn't put any effort into sound. They didn't put any effort into visuals. There was nothing that exploded that had a high cost because everything was terrible CGI. These guys both commented on the model use. Okay, the models were bad, and I was willing to forgive it until there's a line of fucking spacemen walking out of this tunnel into this spacewalk. There's 4 of them. No. There's 4 of them, and they all leave in the same position, and they stay in the same position except the first one, who's already been out in space for probably a solid 35 seconds, and then its left arm moves, and it's a different color than the entire rest of the model. The model usage was so bad. It was so lazy. I don't know what the standard was in 1979, and I'll be fair about that, but there was nothing positive about this model usage because it was very clearly like just a gross, disgusting use of budget they pretended was real, and they did the model use badly. This was an abomination of a fucking film.
Academy Award nominated.
How?
I said the models look nice.
Okay, I've played Warhammer 40k, right? Where the models are genuinely stationary on a table in front of me. And they've looked more realistic than the CGI in this movie. They used quality models and put them on the shittiest green screen with no fucking action whatsoever, so you're very aware it's a piece of Lego floating on a green screen held by a piece of fishing wire. It was so disgusting!
So for the record, you didn't care for the space soldiers walking out of the tunnel, freeze framing in like a mid-step, and then being like picked up and moved away from the tube one by one.
No. I was genuinely, it was so bad, I was looking to see the fingers overlapping the models to know that they were being moved by hand. It was so absolutely vile. The entire film, like, that was just a gross abomination of movie making. I have no idea how this movie was at all considered positive by one person, let alone the masses, to give it an Academy Award. This disgusted me.
It didn't win. It got nominated.
It didn't win. It just made like $1 bazillion.
Right. It made $1 bazillion, and how many movies were made in 1979 that this shouldn't have even been nominated? Like, just put one less nomination on, even if nothing was better. This was so abhorrently bad.
Oh,
I'm out of breath. Somebody take over!
You wanna go, Mike?
I mean, I feel like he covered most of it there.
I mean, there are. I mean,
I did say early on though. You'd mentioned the skydiving scene at the beginning that gave you hope, and I'd like to remind people I did say right after that scene ended, that's it. That's the last good thing you're gonna see in this movie.
You did. I underestimated how bad it would be. I really did.
You did skip over another part though. After he visits after Bond visits the glass shop, and we're reminded several times that everything's made of hexagons because they have to drill that into your brain, so you remember that there's some sort of connection here because the audience is so dumb they need to be shown these hexagons multiple times. But
only one place makes hexagons.
The fight scene that ensues.
Ugh.
where his henchman attacks Bond with a fucking kendo stick, no less.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, those things sting to get hit with, but I couldn't imagine trying to physically beat somebody to death with one. But that whole choreographed fight scene
With no
with
music again.
with
No
no
music again. No backing. None whatsoever.
it's just grunts and
was-
screams
it was-
and like overlaid punch sound effects and glass breaking.
It was 3 minutes of movie with one schmack sound, and that was it. Ah. The longer I think about it, the more it hurts.
Also earlier on when he walks into the control room when Bond's in the G-force simulator, and this guy who's basically a butler just walks up to the scientist running the equipment. He's like, "No, you just whispers to him. It's like, no, you go. I'll take care of the test." And the scientist is just like, "Okay," and just walks away.
I kind of
Sure, random guy.
I kind of lumped that in with inconsistencies, but I probably should have been more specific, because there's multiple times where just the context and flow of the movie is absolute fucking dog water. It's so bad.
My biggest complaint is that there's a lot of things that happen in this film that set up to something good, and then they just like pull the rug under it with stupid shit. Like the scene where the woman's getting, chased and mauled to death by Dobermans. That's all fucking shot really well. It is actually kind of terrifying. However, that gets negated by everything beforehand, because you see the Dobermans, they're all like, all happy and shit.
Happiest, sweetest looking dogs you've ever seen in your life.
And then she also runs past that golf cart with the keys, and it's just like, this would be like a terrifying scene if they didn't have that. There's also another scene where Jaws, he's like, has like a clown outfit, and he's just like menacingly slowly going to like this one of like Bond's contacts, and he's going to like kill her.
He's about to bite her throat out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he takes off the hat, and it's a terrifying look, because he's just like menacing, like smiling. He's about ready to tear her throat out. Then a bunch of party goers go around there, and then he's just like dancing with his victim here.
The most awkward look on his face, and she does not scream. Yeah, she does not yell for help. Not once. Does not draw attention to like, hey, there's something really bad going on here. No, she just stays perfectly silent while this giant murderous man has her like firmly in his grip. It was literally 1 second before this about to rip her throat out with his bare teeth.
And then on top of that, then there's finally Bond shows up, and then they get into a fight, and how do they escape? Oh yeah, more party goers go by, and then just drag him away and it's just like, Jaws was, granted, there was like sometimes he was played for laughs in the last movie, but he was at least taken somewhat serious as a threat. And this, he's like full on Wile E. Coyote. He is 100% full on Wile E. Coyote in this, and it's...
Oh my god. You know what else? None of us had brought up to this point? The scene with the gondolas where he brings like massive industrial machinery to a complete stop with his bare hands and then bites through a 2-inch steel cable.
Mm-hmm. And then can't open a door.
and then can't punch his way through a hatch that's held shut with a fucking like a fucking pin.
No, he has to tear the hatch open.
He has to punch a hole through it because apparently he can stop machinery with his bare hands and bite through 2-inch steel cables, but he can't punch a hatch hard enough to undo a fucking bolt lock.
But like to another scene, when you say gondolas, like while they're in Venice and Bond's like escaping from, like guys that are chasing him on boat.
Oh shit.
Yeah, the gondola speed chase, and then they're just like, it's like, we need to one-up this. So it gets turned into a hovercraft, and it's hovering. And by the way, James Bond's supposed to be a spy, supposed to be inconspicuous. That is totally fucking inconspicuous. Turned into a hovercraft, going through freaking the streets of Venice. And then also the little gags that you borrow from the last film with the guy looking at his booze going, oh shit, I shouldn't drink anymore. And then you also have like a dog that's just like,
I really want to cut that scene together with Toro.
And on top
I
of
also
that,
have to mention how hilarious it is that Stahlman was trying to act out the dog turning his head, and I only saw 4 frames from his Wish camera. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that the camera only showed 4 faces, just still frames.
well, I will say this much though: it's still better than the double taking pigeon. That's in that sequence. Like, oh my god, is that edited so bad?
And
we just pigeon do a double take. Well, how do we do that? Just play it forward, rewind it, and then play it again. That's gonna look stupid. Fuck it, who cares? Put it in there.
They didn't give a shit about looking stupid. And and the worst part of this whole movie for me was not even how terribly it was directed, acted, scripted, and any of that. The whole part was like, I mentioned inconsistencies, but the fact that it was just like, hey, this woman's like, I won't give you any information. He's like, wanna fuck? She's like, that's really fucking juvenile of you. And then he's like, are you sure? She's like, nah, let's fuck, and then I'll give you information anyway. Like,
he lays that initial kiss on her, and she looks so disgusted.
It wasn't
and
even.
Then he goes back in, and she just goes for it.
It wasn't even as like sexual assault-y as the Connery era, but this was just so neglectfully written. Like, Bond's a womanizer, you can kiss her, everything's gonna be great, and it was the worst it's ever been. It was genuinely despicably written. I was so mad. It was.
And on top
of
that,
lazy.
like the cliche, when it comes to the cliche Bond villain of like giving Bond so many chances to escape when he could just kill him flat out, Drax in this film is the prime fucking most egregious fucking example of that.
And
because
Drax
there's like
points it out. And Drax points it out. He's like, I could kill you, but it wouldn't be as fun with his German accent instead of, oh god.
He's supposed see, here's the thing. In the book, he's supposed to be German, pretend to be a British person. In this one, he's played by a French actor who
is pretending to be German, pretending to be British so that they can disguise that he's a Nazi who sounds like Hitler. It's awful!
And like, yeah, he's like putting on like the stereotypically British accent. And even at the end, when fucking Bond finally kills him, like Drax has a fucking laser in his hand, and he's just like, I'm going to wait, better yet, how about this, Mike? Why don't you do the quote in the droopy dog voice, because I need a laugh.
Oh god, I can't remember the quote now.
It's like, I at least can put you out of my misery. Yeah.
I can at least put you out of my misery. Oh boy. Put you out of my misery. Put you out of my misery.
And then even then, there's like a 2 or 3 second pause between then, and then Bond finally shoots a fucking like cyanide dart in his chest and sends him out to outer space. And then has like 2 freaking puns going, heartbroken, Mr. Drax. Take a step for giant step for mankind. God. And then afterwards, like,
cram 2 one-liners into less than 30 seconds.
And then Goodhead goes in, where's Drax? And he goes, oh, he had to fly. Which I will still say, this much right now, for how dumb this movie is, I wish they would have went full fucking stupid and would have went, he needed some space. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's like, I hate how kind of wonky and it's like, they go like full out stupid on some parts, and then they just like, oh no, we have to like be reserved in this. And it's like, it's just so fucking jarring.
The quote about science fiction. Probably bring that up too.
All right. So while this was out, Empire Strikes Back was either out or coming out. Alien was probably, I think, was being released around this time. Like I mentioned, Steven Spielberg with Close Encounters beforehand. They asked Cubby Broccoli, it's like, well, how do you think that you guys are going to compete with like all these science fiction movies that come out? And Cubby Broccoli repeated, well, that's because we're not science fiction. We're science fact.
I literally uttered the word science fact as soon as these spaceships full of soldiers showed up with laser guns and they started shooting each other.
Uh,
Science fact.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
and
science.
also
There's
with them
science fact played with gravity, where sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't, and when it wasn't, and they decided it should be, they just slowed the footage down. It was it. Oh god.
Oh no! I don't even think they slowed the footage down. I think it was just them moving slow.
I genuinely hear the sound effects. I don't know where they're coming from because of Stahlman's wish camera. Like I hear them and I know it's Stahlman's end, but I have no idea how or why.
That is voice mod, by the way.
You know,
Oh god.
Ian Fleming's Moonraker, guys.
Man. I mentioned before in previous episodes that like it was impossible.
Is it sad that the sound effects on voice mod are better than those in the movie?
They're drastically better. No, the worst part of this whole thing for me, the worst part of the experience was that I mentioned in previous films that like it was hard to suspend disbelief, which is the entire purpose of watching a movie, right? That you can jump into a movie and feel like it's real for its own universe, right?
What are you talking about? That was totally real.
I know Superman doesn't exist. I know Batman doesn't exist. If you watch the movies, it's supposed to make you feel like it could be real, right? Not only was that impossible for this, but they also like stretched it to a point where it was just so thin. Like everything was just so hard to believe and hard to buy into. Just that this movie, like, of all of the Bond movies we've watched, you go, well, at least he's a spy and he learned some shit and he could have done some stuff. At least there's like, well, they tried to make it a sign of the times and they, you know, made it realistic to who our American enemy was or our British enemy was to make this realistic. At least, you know, at least they put some effort into it. And this one's just, I don't fucking know, make some space lasers and shit.
Again, the source material would have made for a better movie.
I'd also like to draw attention to the sounds of the lasers, which literally weren't like anything that seemed like they were manufactured in a sound lab at all. It literally sounded like there were a couple people hovered over a microphone watching the scene and just going whoop 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 over top of it.
I could have gone
noises with their mouths.
I could have gone pew 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 pew, and it would have sounded better than what was actually released in that fucking film.
Oh, there's also like a Wilhelm scream there. There's even like really obviously bad like gunshot things going off throughout this. Like the sound is so bad in this movie. But with that being said, unfortunately, this is Bernard Lee's last outing as M. Too bad he died during filming of For Your Eyes Only, so he's not in that film, which is way fucking better than this movie. So, unfortunately, this pile of shit is his last movie for the James Bond series. So I figure I'd say I'd give like our takes on Bernard Lee's M.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was pretty consistent through most of the movies. Like, whether the movie was good, whether the movie was bad, I thought his performance was pretty consistent in that, like, M was the same character with the same tropes, the same fun, same jokes every single time. The problem is that, like, I mentioned it during the movie, that, like, visually it looked like a spoof of Spaceballs, which was a spoof of Star Wars. I mentioned that it was a spoof of the Alex Rider novels, which were based off of the James Bond novels, but also designed for kids. And it doesn't belong in either of those categories as the source material for both spoofs. And the, like, I thought that M's character hit a spot that was a pretty reliable niche that they never really did a bad job with. He fit his character well. He just never floored me, partially because he was never given the floor to do so. Like, most of his roles were pretty small, but I honestly thought he did a good job.
He does have like an arc a little bit. Like, he's more like standoffish at the beginning with like Dr. No and all, but he seems to kind of like, even though he's generally constantly annoyed with like Bond shit, but I'd say like towards like the last couple of movies, he's kind of more of like a fatherly role, which gets brought up a lot more with other people that play M, mainly like Judi Dench, with like a motherly role within the Craig films. But I will say that there isn't really that much to go off of with M. I know that other people play M differently than Bernard Lee. It's going to be hard to really compare when we've only seen one M. But I do like there are some consistencies, and some of the one-liners that he has are really good. And I also like to think his reaction with the man with the golden gun. Although I wish that reaction was in this movie, because that reaction of like when
Don't try to put
when he
positives
finds
in
out
this movie, Stahlman.
when the
Don't you
s-
dare try.
I'm not putting any positives. All right, I'm saying that the reaction from the man with the golden gun, where he sees when he is told that the Solex is stolen, where he's like, like
Wish
that.
camera version.
To me, that face is the face of someone's first time watching Moonraker, just going, "Oh my god!"
Fair. Fair.
So it makes me think that maybe to get that scene for the man with the golden gun, they pitched him the script for Moonraker. But I don't really have much to add. Mike, since it's been like a while since you've seen these films, was when we were talking about it. Like, do you have any recollections of like Bernard Lee's M, or it's gonna take a while for you to?
Not a ton.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about, I enjoyed this movie about as much as a medium-sized head wound.
Alright.
I would have rather bled out than watch this movie again, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, and now we're on to the director, Lewis Gilbert. This is his last film, and we're gonna go what we did with Terrence Young,
darn.
Deer Hunt,
Yeah.
and Guy Hamilton. I guess we'll go with Mike on your thoughts. Here's a brush up. You Only Live Twice.
Better
Spy
than
Who
this.
Loved Me, and this
Better
one.
than this. They're both better than this. I don't care for any of those three movies all that much, but they're all better than this one.
It was definitely a downturn, this one, but I mean, Stillman mentioned it towards the beginning of this episode that it they all kind of felt the same. Like, if you really boiled it down and you whitewashed the plot as much as humanly possible, I mean, they're all three movies. They're
the same movie.
This one just took the same movie and stretched it over an even worse concept, because it needs to be in space.
I'll actually say I think that's the thing that makes. I think I'll take that back. This is definitely the worst of the three, but this one I feel like is the most watchable because it's the most terrible.
Okay,
Because it is so comically shitty.
I know I mentioned that it was a spoof of spoofs, but spoofs are supposed to be funny. And I think the only thing I laughed at was the fact that I was still agreeing to watch these movies every single fucking week.
I'm glad that this wasn't your breaking point, because I was scared.
If there was ever a breaking point, it was this one. Like when we were halfway through Dr. No, I genuinely sent Haley a message going, "Why the fuck did I agree to this? Who let me say that this was possibly okay?" And it was worse through this movie than it ever was through Dr. No. This was the worst thing I have ever fucking sat through.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I'm a lover of shitty horror movies. I could probably find you something worse than this.
Okay.
The Howling sequels.
The part that makes that's the thing that makes it so funny is it's not supposed to be funny, which makes it way more hilarious.
I forget what the name of the movie was, but we watched it not that long ago. There was a dude that was this pastor. He turns into a raptor because of some ridiculous fucking event.
Velocipaster.
Yes, philosophy. Thank you. All right, so Velocipaster,
Yeah.
Velociraptor,
Velocipaster.
something. Yeah,
Velocipaster.
something like that. Anyway, the entire purpose of that movie, right, is they don't have the budget to take themselves seriously, but they try. That movie's hilariously bad. This movie isn't bad enough to laugh at because there's nothing that's funny bad. It's just bad. The like even like really terrible movies, you can laugh at them because it's like, haha, they sucked and they didn't have the budget to be good and they knew it and they made fun of themselves. This one took itself so fucking seriously.
But that's what makes it hilarious.
I can laugh at them, but there was nothing in this movie worth laughing at during the watch. It was just abysmal, man. It just felt like misery. You show this movie to a person in therapy for depression and they go, at least my life isn't as bad as the people agreeing to put this movie in Hollywood. And you feel like, I hate to make a joke about that because but like genuinely it's so bad that you can't even find positives to laugh at other than the fact that it got made.
Back to the subject with Lewis Gilbert. Yeah, of the three, I think of the three, Spy Who Loved Me is better. And I will say that I was kind of getting a little like getting a little bit of hope. I knew this movie was going to be bad, but I was just like, well, I was thinking, well, Spy Who Loved Me got better, and it's the opposite of what Guy Hamilton did, because he went from Goldfinger to Diamonds Are Forever, and Diamonds Are Forever was fucking terrible, even more terrible than I remembered. And I'm just like, well, maybe, I remember he drops the ball, and Moonraker's stupid and silly. Maybe it's not completely like utter shit, and it's like, nope, it's still shit.
And it took 6 minutes to realize it. It took 6 minutes.
Yeah. And the thing is, I'm trying to think of like who did the blow shit up and be Michael Bay, the precursor to Michael Bay, better, Lewis Gilbert or Guy Hamilton.
It was Guy Hamilton. It was Guy Hamilton. I was waiting for the entire budget's worth of explosions, and it never fucking happened.
Lewis Gilbert's just like, I'm gonna give you a bunch of bullshit here, and then the explosions happen, and it's just like, man, they're kind of a dud. At least like Hamilton just throws the freaking keg of dynamite at the end.
Matt, we can stick a wrap on this, but like,
yeah.
For those of you who know me, that like I go to bed by 9 o'clock so I can get up early in the morning for my job, right? Usually by like 7 o'clock, I tell myself I don't need another beer because I'm going to have to go to bed soon. I cracked one open at 8:20 last night, specifically to get through the last 5 fucking minutes of this movie.
Oh, so that's why you were silent. We literally thought you were playing League of Legends.
No, I walked away to grab a beer because I could not possibly have gotten through this movie without another one. It was the worst thing I have ever fucking watched.
So anyway, I guess we're gonna go overall thoughts.
Yeah,
man, I should make a list of movies for you guys to watch.
Mike,
that are way worse than this.
Mike, if you want to hop on a future podcast after the Bond ones are done and we can just watch shitty movies and review them, I'll happily do it. Because I genuinely don't think anything could get as low as this one possibly has.
Have you seen any Steven Seagal movies after Under Siege?
Oh, I have, and I'm still telling you this is the worst thing I've ever watched. Mike, I know that you haven't done the rankings with us for the past few weeks, but if you have a place to, stick this in a rank order, I'll give you the floor first.
Oh, if I'm taking them seriously, this one's definitely at the bottom. This is worse than every other movie in the series. None of them are this bad.
Fair. Stahlman, you were kind of chuckling before we started about you don't know where I was going to put this. I hate to steal lines from Moneyball, but there's every other Bond movie. There's 50 feet of shit. There's Dr. No. There's 50 feet more of shit.
Yes!
And,
Dr. No gets bumped up!
And then there's Moonraker. This is the worst thing I have ever watched. Let alone Bond movie. This is the worst thing I have ever watched.
Yes. So here's the thing. I really did not fucking like Diamonds Are Forever. It is the only Bond film so far that I'm just like, and here's the thing. Moonraker and Diamonds Are Forever are two different types of bad. Like, Diamonds Are Forever is bad, but it's also kind of boring-ish. You know, it's just bad. Moonraker is hysterically awful, and it's entertainingly bad. But at the same time, despite me like being like amused by how terrible it is, I can't put this above Diamonds Forever. This is dead last for me too so far. And it makes me scared for Casino Royale 67 because I couldn't make it through that movie when I tried watching it. It makes me scared for Die Another Day, which is often ranked below this for Bond films. And also, like, Never Say Never Again, which is also shitty, but I have a feeling in the back of my head, it's like, is it worse than Moonraker? No.
I keep hearing from Stahlman, like, once we get to the 80s, they turn into genuinely not that bad. This is at 79, and I'm telling you, I've never seen anything worse in my entire human existence. This is so bad.
Yeah. Just take comfort in this being the bottom of the barrel. They are better than this.
Yeah, For Your Eyes Only is drastically better than this. Octopussy, I'm not sure where you're gonna be. Like, I like it, but some people don't like it, and I can see why they don't like it, because it's meh, it's okay. View to a Kill.
We can get to those when we come to them.
Yeah, we'll get to them when we get to them.
We should wrap this one up. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this one. I'm gonna plug Mike's stuff again. Mike Riot on YouTube. RiotXL365 on Twitch. Facebook.com/douchebag Mike Riot, which is the best fucking link I've ever read in my entire fucking life. At least there's one positive.
MikeRiot.com.
Yeah, at least there's one positive to watching this entire episode through. I'm so sorry you had to listen to me complain for as long as I did, but at least douchebag Mike Riot made an appearance.
Go to MikeRiot.com, buy my shitty merch, come listen to me swear at people on the internet while playing games badly.
Abso-fucking-lutely, dude. Love this guy. I want to thank him for hanging out both through this the worst movie I've ever seen and through the podcast.
I appreciate this so much.
And also thank you for giving us notes from our episodes that have been uploaded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are duly appreciated, despite you, avoiding putting them in the comments.
As we burst the mics on the entire fucking episode. Anyway, if you guys are interested in future Bond films, I know we're significantly ahead on Bond films than we are on episodes, but you can watch them on Tuesdays in the Discord with us. Check out Stahlman on Twitch at Traductus. Myself at Ted Green Eagles. I think that wraps us up, unless you got anything else, Stahlman?
Nothing besides, like, the next one's For Your Eyes Only, and I promise it's better than this movie. That's all I can say.
All right, fair enough. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.